by all. Now you may please take chapter 8 in Modern Indian History, page number 147, the national movements from 1919 to 1934. In this chapter, we will learn the non-cooperation movement and civil disobedience movement. Today, we will discuss only about the non-cooperation movement, and in the next class, we will learn about the civil disobedience movement. Now, you may please take page number 152, and there you can find the meaning of non-cooperation movement. The non-cooperation movement means withdraw all support and cooperation to the British government. Not supporting and not cooperating with the British government. That is the non-cooperation movement. The definition it is given there. It is a type of protest in which one is not cooperating with the evildoer. Here the evildoer, it is the British government, and through non-cooperation movement, Gandhiji said people to not to cooperate with the foreign government and their policies. So, non-cooperation means withdraw supports and cooperation to the British government. Now we will see the different causes for the non-cooperation movement, and we are going to discuss only 3 causes here. So you may please take page number 150. There you can notice that the reasons of non-cooperation movement, the launch of non-cooperation movement is given, and you can skip the first reason, and you may please take the second reason, Rowlatt Act. That is very important, and you have to study that one. The first cause for the non-cooperation movement is Rowlatt Act. The Rowlatt Act was introduced by Justice Rowlatt, and it was known as the Black Bills. The reason is that it gave enormous power to the British government to repress the political activities or suppress the political activities and take the Indians in custody without any warrant and punish the Indians. So we will see some of the features of this particular act. And on the basis of these bills, the police could search any place and arrest any person on mere suspicion without any warrant. The first feature. The police can search any place and arrest the person without any warrant on what? On even a suspicion. Even any doubt is there, then also the police got more power to search the places and take the people in custody. That is the first feature. And the second reason, the person would be kept in police custody without trial for an indefinite period of time. So once a person in police custody, he has to be presented before court. But according to Rowlatt Act, the person can be there in police custody for indefinite period. It is not necessary that the person should be presented before court. That is the second feature of Rowlatt Act. And the third one, the offender was deprived of any right to appeal to the higher court. And earlier when we study the courts, then we found that whenever the person feels that the subordinate courts are not doing well, then he was able to give appeal in the higher court. But according to Rowlatt Act, the person, he was not having any right to appeal before the higher court, and all the rights were denied. 3 features we discussed. And the fourth feature is that it banned all the demonstrations and public meeting. The public meetings were not allowed according to Rowlatt Act. The fifth feature of this act is that it legalized the trials of political offenders by a judge without the jury. So the 5 features we discussed, and one of the speciality of this particular act was that no dalil, no wakil, no appeal. That means no police, no lawyer, and no appeal. The person was deprived of all rights and he was not having any right for plea. Then he was not having any right to appoint a lawyer and he was not having any right to appeal there in the higher court. So the 6 features we already discussed and you have to be thorough with the 6 features. The first feature it is that the police could arrest any person and search any person without any warrant. And the second one, the person can be in custody for indefinite period. And the third one, the person he was deprived of all rights and he was not having any right to appeal in the higher court. And this act banned all the public meetings and the political offenders. They were tried by the judge without the jury. So these features you may be thorough with. Now we will see the second reason for the launch of non-cooperation movement. The second reason for the launch of non-cooperation movement was the Jallianwala Bagh tragedy. On 10th April 1919, 2 prominent leaders like Dr. Satpal and Dr. Saifuddin were arrested. So the people started to protest against that one and they marched to the Deputy Commissioner's office as a protest. Then the police started firing on the mob. The mob got angry and they attacked the public offices, especially the town hall and the local post office. And as a result, the telegraph wires were cut and many Europeans were attacked, and in that many women were there. So the army was called in and the new in charge was there, that was General Dyer, and he prohibited all the public meeting. But on Vaisakhi Day, 13th April, many people gathered there in Jallianwala Bagh. And the speciality of the ground at Jallianwala Bagh was an enclosed ground with one entrance. So when the public meeting started, then the soldiers surrounded the ground. Hemmed means to surround. So here the police or the government officials, they surrounded the ground, and General Dyer, without issuing warning to the unarmed crowd, told his troops to fire upon the mob. So you have to notice that there is only one entrance and all the people were standing inside. Then General Dyer, he said his troops and police officers to fire at the mob or the crowd. The shooting continued for 10 minutes until the police ran out of ammunition. Ammunition means they just finished all their bullets and the weapons. Till that time they continued their firing and many people died. The government estimate was 379 dead. The brutality at Jallianwala Bagh stunned the entire nation. It gave a shock to the entire nation and curfew was clamped. Punjab was placed under martial law. The people of Amritsar were forced into indignities like crawling on their bellies before the Europeans, stripping and whipping of the people on the open street. And Rabindranath Tagore, as a reaction against this one and as a protest against this incident, he gave up the title of knighthood. According to Bipin Chandra, the incidents in Punjab exposed the ugly and horrible character of the British administration. So here from the Jallianwala Bagh tragedy, you can understand that 2 leaders were arrested. Then as a result, the people started a protest march towards the Deputy Commissioner's office. Then the police started firing. So the angry crowd attacked many officers and even the Europeans. So the General Dyer got the duty to control such a kind of attack and he banned all kinds of public meetings. But on Vaisakhi Day, many people gathered to celebrate there at Jallianwala Bagh. And the speciality of the meeting ground was it was an enclosed ground with one entrance. And the soldiers stood on the walls and they started firing. General Dyer ordered the troops to fire on the unarmed crowd or the people, those who gathered for the Vaisakhi celebration. And in this incident, many Indians died and it shocked the entire nation. People started to fight against this one. So the curfew was declared there in Punjab, and many prominent leaders, they just gave up their titles given by the British government, and it was a brutal and horrible attitude. It revealed this particular incident. It revealed the horrible and brutal character of British rule in India. The third reason for the launch of non-cooperation movement, it was the Caliphate movement, and we already heard about this one. And during the First World War, Turkey, they stood with the Germany, and we know Germany was defeated by Britain and France. So they stood against Britain. Turkey stood against Britain. But Turkey was the Sultan of Turkey was the religious head of all the Muslims in the entire world. So the Muslims in India also had a sympathy towards their Caliphate. That means the Sultan of Turkey. Turkey entered the First World War as an ally to Germany against Britain and her allies. And at the end of the First World War, Turkey was on the side of the defeated one. So during the time of the Treaty of Sèvres, the prestige of many of the prestiges of Sultan of Turkey was taken away by Britain and the allies. So the Indian Muslims had a sympathy towards their religious head. And what was the prestiges taken away from the Turkish Sultan? It was the Asian portion was taken away from Turkish Empire. And even in the remaining domination of Turkey, the Sultan was not allowed to exercise real control. So Sultan lost his control, or Caliphate, he lost his control over many dominations or many parts. So normally the Muslims started to fight against the British people, because Caliphate was the religious head of all the Muslims. And the Muslims in India were upset and started the Caliphate movement to revive the lost glory of Khalifa under the leadership of Maulana Muhammad Ali and Maulana Shaukat Ali. So the Muslims in India were upset about the incident that took place after the First World War. What happened? The Sultan of Turkey, he lost his prestige and pride, and he was on the defeated side. So the Muslims were upset in India, and they just wanted to fight against the British government, and they wanted to bring back the lost glory of the Caliphate. And for this purpose, the Caliphate movement started under Maulana Muhammad Ali and Maulana Shaukat Ali. And earlier we had seen that the Muslim League was formed, and many Muslims were not ready to cooperate with the International Congress. But here, after the Caliphate movement, once the Caliphate movement started, then Gandhiji understood that there is a chance for reconciliation, and there is a chance of achieving Hindu-Muslim unity. So he advised the leaders of Caliphate movement to advocate or take a policy of non-cooperation with the British government. He was prepared to start non-cooperation movement in support of Caliphate demands. The programs of the Caliphate movement included resignation from police and army, stopping payment of land tax, surrender of honorary officers. In September 1920, the special Calcutta session of the National Congress approved Gandhiji's proposal of non-cooperation movement and supported the Caliphate cause. So here Gandhiji found a rare chance for Muslim-Hindu unity, and he asked the leaders of Caliphate movement to follow a non-cooperation style. And the Muslims were asked to resign from the government officers, army, police, and asked not to pay the tax. And even in the session, the Congress session, they accept the demands of Caliphate movement, and they supported the Caliphate movement. Earlier it was not the same thing, because already there was a division among Hindus and Muslims, but it brought a unity among Hindus and Muslims. We discussed three causes. The first one, the Rowlatt Act, the second one, the Jallianwala Bagh tragedy, and the third one, Caliphate movement. The Rowlatt Act, we noticed that Justice Rowlatt introduced a new bill called Black Bill, which gave enormous power to the government to repress the political activities and control the uprising in India. And in the Jallianwala Bagh, we noticed that the brutal and horrible kind of ruling from British side. Many people, the unarmed people, they were killed by the British officials in an enclosed ground. And the third reason was the Caliphate movement. What was the speciality of the Caliphate movement? The Sultan of Turkey, he was standing with Germany during the First World War, but he was on the defeated side. So the Britain took away all the portions of Turkey, and it affected the religious mentality of Muslims, and they had a sympathy towards their Caliphate, the religious head of all the Muslims. So they started to fight against the British, and they wanted to bring back the lost glory of the Turkish Empire and the Sultan. So they started the Caliphate movement. Now we will see the programs of the non-cooperation movement. In the programs of non-cooperation movement, we can see two types: the negative aspect and the positive aspect. The negative aspects, first one, refusal to attend the government functions, and the second one, the boycott of government schools, third one, boycott of British goods, fourth one, the boycott of legislative councils, fifth one, surrender of titles and honorary post. Earlier we had seen Rabindranath Tagore, he just gave up or surrendered the title of knighthood. The same way it promoted surrender of titles given by the British government. And then the boycott of law of court by the lawyers of India. Now we will see the positive aspect of the program. First one, Hindu-Muslim unity. Then promotion of Swadeshi, removal of untouchability, the banning of intoxicating drinks, establishment of national schools, and finally empowerment of women. Hindu-Muslim unity, promotion of Swadeshi, empowerment of women, removal of untouchability, banning of intoxicating drinks, and establishment of national schools. According to your syllabus, the next point you have to learn is the suspension of the non-cooperation movement or the withdrawal of the movement. So you may please take page number 154. There the Chowri Chowra incident is mentioned, and that was the cause for the suspension or the withdrawal of the non-cooperation movement. Chowri Chowra was a small village in Gorakhpur in Uttar Pradesh. And the incident that happened in Chowri Chowra led to the suspension of the non-cooperation movement by Gandhiji. And what was the incident? A police officer had beaten some volunteers picketing a liquor shop. The angry crowd set fire to the local police station with 22 policemen inside it. So that was the reason. That was the incident took place in Chowri Chowra. What happened? Some group of people, they were beaten by a police officer. So as a reaction against that one, the crowd, the angry crowd, they fired the entire police station and even killed 22 police officers. So on hearing this incident, Gandhiji decided to withdraw the movement. Why? Because he was promoting non-violence, and he was shocked by hearing such a kind of incident which promoted violence. So by hearing this incident, he was very much shocked because the crowd became violent, and he persuaded the Congress Working Committee to ratify his decision, that to accept the decision to withdraw the non-cooperation movement. So as a result, on 12th February 1922, the non-cooperation movement came to an end. Gandhiji's decision to withdraw the movement, non-cooperation movement, was not acceptable to all the Congress leaders, and it created a controversy among conquerors. Many leaders, they were not agreeing with that one, like Motilal Nehru, Jawaharlal Nehru, Subhash Chandra Bose. They said why the whole country had to pay the price of the crazy behavior of some people in a remote village, and they were not agreeing with Gandhiji regarding the suspension of the non-cooperation movement. In your syllabus, the next important point that you have to study, it is the importance of the non-cooperation movement, and that is given in page number 154. And it is very important, and you have to study the importance of non-cooperation movement. First one, demonstrated the support of the masses. Non-cooperation movement, it showed the support from all the category, all the people like peasants, students, lawyers, women, all participated in the non-cooperation movement. First one, demonstrated the support of the mass or the people. Then the second one is the confidence among the people. People were even ready to sacrifice their life for the country. It gave confidence among the people. People prepared to bear repression. People were ready to sacrifice their lives for the country, and even they were ready to defy the foreign rulers. Defy means to challenge. People were ready to challenge the foreign rulers, and there emerged a great desire for the freedom. And the third one, it is the Hindu-Muslim unity. The remarkable involvement of the Muslims in the movement and the maintenance of communal unity was another important achievement of the movement. At some places, 2/3 of those arrested were Muslims. The Hindu-Muslim unity was exhibited when the Caliphate issues were included in the program of this movement. So the Hindu-Muslim unity, and even Muslims also started to fight against the British, and they also supported the non-cooperation movement. And the fourth one, promotion of social reforms. Gandhiji fought against untouchability. He tried to promote khadi. He emphasized on Swadeshi. Charkas were distributed among people. The promotion of Swadeshi movement, and it promoted some kind of social reforms in the society, like fighting against untouchability and some of the social evils that were prevailing in the Indian society. Then the next point, it is the undermine the prestige of the British government. People were not happy at all with the British rule. There was an anti-British feeling among the masses. The British officers now felt nervous because the group of people, they started to react against the British officials and even the Europeans. Then the British officers, they felt nervous. And the next point is change in Congress character. According to Subhash Chandra Bose, Gandhiji transformed the Congress into a revolutionary party. According to historian A.C. Majumdar, Congress became an organized fighting force. Earlier it was not the case. They were pleading, they were asking to the British government for the change and the rules. But now Congress became a revolutionary party, and it was a organized force fighting against the injustice that was done by the British government. And the concept of Swaraj. Congress aimed at the attainment of Swaraj within the British Empire. Congress realized the value of popular support for attaining Swaraj. So the concept of Swaraj we had seen earlier, and now after the non-cooperation movement, it became very prominent and popular, and Gandhiji aimed at getting support from the people, or Congress realized about getting support from people in order to attain the Swaraj. Then the spread of nationalism. People became patriotic. The love towards country increased. The Congress had its branches at different parts of the country, both urban as well as rural. Its membership fee was reduced to 4 annas per year, so that poor people could become its member. Congress started its branches even in rural area, so many people could become the members of Congress, and it promoted nationalism in Indians. And finally, formation of Swaraj Party. Swaraj Party was formed by Motilal Nehru and C.R. Das, who were better known as law changers. They wanted to enter the legislative councils and from within planned to upset the evil policies of the British. They wanted to enter the legislative councils among the British people, and within the system they wanted to make some kind of changes. So that is the importance of the non-cooperation movement. So today we discussed about the different causes or the reasons for the non-cooperation movement and the meaning of non-cooperation movement and the programs of the non-cooperation movement. Then we discussed about the withdrawal or the suspension of the non-cooperation movement based on the Chaudhry Chowra incident. And finally we discussed the importance of non-cooperation movement. So you study only these topics from that particular title, that means non-cooperation movement. We will discuss about the civil disobedience movement in the next class. You may please go through your textbook and your syllabus. Thank you. Have a nice day.